Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines.
Northern Ireland escapes the worst of Storm Floris, but the north coast feels the full force of the gales.
This is really unexpected for us. We never saw this kind of wind in India. It's hardly 20-30 km per hour. But we are barely able to walk in this weather.
UTV can reveal government solicitors believe that introducing Irish language signage at Grand Central Station was a decision which should have been referred to the executive.
And the Infrastructure Minister is appealing a ruling that construction work on the new A5 should not go ahead.
Also tonight, they're toasting Tyrone after their ladies' last leash to deliver All-Ireland glory.
And Storm Floris brought some disruption across Northern Ireland today with strengthening winds. But what does the weather have in store for the rest of the week? I'll have all of the details later in the programme.
UTV has seen correspondence between the Communities and Infrastructure Ministers, which shows government solicitors believe that introducing Irish language signage at Grand Central Station in Belfast was a cross-cutting and controversial decision which should have been referred to the executive.
A row broke out between Sinn Féin's Liz Kimmins and DUP ministers back in March after she announced that she was introducing Irish signage without consulting her executive colleagues. The minister has again insisted the matter does not need to be brought to the executive, but the decision is now the subject of a legal challenge. Our political editor Tracy McGee has the story.
When Liz Kimmins announced she was to introduce Irish language signage at Grand Central Station at a cost of £150,000, DUP ministers reacted furiously. The row reached the highest levels of government when the decision was discussed at the executive table. At a press conference afterwards, the Deputy First Minister vented her fury at the decision.
It all looks utterly shambolic, and I think it's absolutely right that I ask questions about how this has come about. We weren't notified of this announcement or decision before it was made. And again, as I've said, it's not even clear what kind of decision this is.
But it didn't end there. Loyalist activist Jimmy Bryson announced he was launching a legal challenge to the decision. UTV later revealed the Communities Minister Gordon Lyons had also decided to legally challenge the move and so intervened in the Bryson case. At the heart of the legal challenge being brought by Mr Bryson and the Communities Minister is the belief that the decision to introduce Irish language signage at Grand Central Station is controversial and cross-cutting. In other words, its impact cuts across two or more government departments. In those circumstances, a Stormont minister is required to bring the decision to the executive for agreement and not go it alone. UTV has seen correspondence which reveals Liz Kimmins and Gordon Lyons were at odds from the moment the announcement was made. In no less than 7 letters exchanged between March and June, the two ministers disagreed over whether the decision was cross-cutting and controversial. Finally, on the 20th of May, the Communities Minister wrote to his infrastructure counterpart saying he had received legal advice from the Departmental Solicitor's Office. He writes, "That advice confirms that your decision meets the test for controversial and cross-cutting and should have been referred to the Executive for discussion and agreement prior to being made." He again urges Mrs Kimmins to bring the matter to the Executive for discussion. On June 20th, Mrs Kimmins wrote back to insist again that as Infrastructure Minister, any decision in relation to the provision of public transport clearly falls within my remit. In reference to the legal action, she also goes on to say it would be preferable if we discussed this matter to reach a better mutual understanding of our positions before escalating this matter unnecessarily. When asked about the matter today, the Minister stuck to her position.
I wasn't advised to go to the executive. I am confident and still am confident that that didn't need to happen. However, as there are legal proceedings and the Minister for Communities has joined the legal proceedings of the applicant, I think that's all I can really say on it at this stage and as it is now in the hands of the court.
Ultimately, who is legally right over this one will be decided by the High Court in September. But this issue has raised bigger questions about the overall decision-making process in our government. Tracy McGee, UTV Live, Stormont.
Well, the Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins has also confirmed that her department will appeal a court ruling which has halted the £1.7 billion new A5 road.
In June, a judge ruled that the plans for the road did not comply with Stormont's climate change targets. Our political correspondent Vicky Hawthorne reports.
6 weeks ago, the Infrastructure Minister was left stunned and disappointed when a court ruling put a stop to the new A5. With the window for appeal closing, the Minister has now confirmed her department is going back to court.
I have instructed legal counsel to submit an appeal, and that will be done imminently ahead of the deadline for appeal, which is Friday the 8th of August. That is currently being finalised. I think it's fair to say that the officials and myself and my team have been working night and day to ensure that we are submitting a very robust appeal.
The A5 upgrade is an executive flagship project, and with some funding from the Irish Government, a total of £1.7 billion has been committed to the scheme. But in June, a judge quashed the executive move to approve the project following a legal challenge from a group including residents, farmers and landowners. The judge said the proposed A5 breached parts of Stormont's Climate Change Act. It has left all departments considering if other significant projects could be affected. And the Minister has been facing questions about whether her officials heeded warnings from the Department for Agriculture about the legal clash.
Officials worked extremely closely with DAERA. They took on board absolutely everything, and I think it would be fair to say that the DAERA team would also agree that a huge amount of work was done to ensure that we presented a very robust case. That was then, that wasn't to be on the day, but however, I do feel that there are ways forward and we'll continue to find that solution.
There have been more than 50 deaths on the current A5 since 2006. Families whose relatives have been killed are fully supportive of the appeal.
It came as an awful blow to them, and Justice Micklenden quashed the decision. But they're confident that the right people are in charge, and they've got the commitments from the department and everybody else that no stone will be left unturned and that the road will be built. And we are very, very optimistic, and we're hoping that this will be a very, very short break, and it won't run into years or anything like that.
UTV has asked the group which challenged the A5 upgrade for comment. Meanwhile, campaigners in support of the project know an appeal will bring further delay, but it's one they are prepared to wait for in the hope of finally getting the A5 upgrade. Vicky Hawthorne, UTV Live.
A warning for strong winds remains in place as Storm Florence continues to cause travel disruption and structural damage in some areas. Several flights were cancelled and some public facilities were closed as a precaution.
Gusts of over 60 miles an hour have been recorded, with blustery scenes along the coast, and in the Republic around 10,000 homes were without power. Barbara McCann reports.
Shredding the last of a fallen tree, the couple living in this house in North Belfast were fortunate. The stricken 100-year-old tree on the street outside their home was uprooted by the strong wind and damaged the roof, but they weren't injured.
All of a sudden I heard a thump of a bough breaking, and as I looked again out, I saw the whole tree come right across to my window.
My goodness, did it hit your house?
It hit the house completely, damage to the roof and damage to the guttering and things like that.
And you're in the house with your wife?
My wife was in bed and I was looking out the window.
And how frightening was that for you?
It was quite a shock, all of a sudden. She took it more of a shock than I did. Yeah. It was over 100 years old, I'm quite sure. And I know it was inspected about a year ago, and they did a density check, and that must have been okay.
Storm Florence brought down trees in a number of areas across Northern Ireland. It caused power outages and disrupted air travel. 10 flights were cancelled at the city airport. On the north coast, red flags were flown to warn those on the beach of the danger of going into the water.
So we have red flagged the beach because of the storm. This is for everybody's safety on the beach, as it creates bigger waves and flash rip currents or other rips. So we do advise not to enter the water. Come and speak to one of us lifeguards and head to a lifeguarded beach.
It was not your usual summer holiday images to write home about.
Normally in the middle of August you should have a bit of sunshine, but right now it is very windy outside and the sea is nearly over the harbour wall. It's a wee bit quieter, but hopefully by lunchtime you always get the odd one or two crazy people that's like, I'll come out and have a wee cup of tea and coffee. But it's lovely whenever it is a wee bit windy, because then you can sit down and watch out the window and see the waves. Although we did have like a good 2 or 3 weeks during that Gulf, so hopefully it'll get a wee bit better before the summer holidays is over and all the kids have to go back to school.
So this is really unexpected for us. Like, we never saw this kind of wind in India. Like, it's hardly 20-30 km per hour. But like, we are barely able to walk in this weather. So
Further along the coast in Whitehead, Carrickfergus and Bangor, the coastline was also taking a battering. The gusting wind is churning up the sea, and as the day progresses it's getting harder to stand still. The blue skies and summertime vibe here in Bangor belie the effects of the building storm. This wind?
Cold. It's cold and windy.
It's not something you would expect today.
Not in August, no. I was expecting a bit of sun, hopefully.
The yellow weather warning remains in place and the clear-up continues. Barbara McCann, UTV Live.
So clearly that yellow weather warning has certainly brought some strong winds to Northern Ireland.
Yes, indeed. We've been certainly feeling the force of Storm Flores, and Louise joins us now. Look, Louise, it's August. We don't normally expect to see storms at this time of year, do we?
Storms are actually much more common in August than you would believe. This is actually our 6th named storm in the month of August since 2020. Today's winds peaked at around 66 miles per hour Orlock Head. Previously, that record was reached dating back to 1989 at Kilkeel, once again 66 miles per hour. Last August we had Storm Lillian. Before that, in storm season 22-23, we had Storm Anthony and Storm Betty. But the most remarkable and memorable storm back in 2020 was Storm Francis. We had so much flooding across Northern Ireland. 37 people were actually rescued by the Fire and Rescue Service as homes and businesses were flooded. Thankfully, though, Storm Flores has started to clear through, but it does look like another rather blustery day tomorrow. Now, wind's not quite as strong as today, down to around 30-35 miles per hour, but still fairly windy as well. But I'll be back with the forecast later.
Louise, thanks for now.
The body, which was discovered beside a burning car in Omagh on Saturday, was that of a woman in her 30s. She was discovered on the Ryla Road by the Fire and Rescue Service. The police say at this stage that her death is not believed to be suspicious.
The First and Deputy First Ministers have appointed Joe McVeigh as the new Commissioner for Victims and Survivors. He is currently the chair of the VSB Foundation and has served 8 years as a Commissioner with the Equality Commission. He will take up the post in October.
The green light has been given for a wind farm in the Sperrins after a decision by Causeway Coast and Glensborough Council was overturned by the Planning Appeals Commission. Plans for 6 turbines at Machermore were rejected by the Council in 2023 because of the impact on the landscape.
An Irish missionary from County Mayo was among 9 people kidnapped from an orphanage in Haiti. Gina Herity, originally from Westport, moved to Kenscoff over 30 years ago, where she manages an orphanage for vulnerable children. Miss Herity, a 3-year-old child, and 7 employees were also taken. Taoiseach Simon Harris said no stone would be left unturned in ensuring her release.
Traffic chaos hit many areas of Belfast over the weekend, with part of a major motorway being closed. Motorists faced queues of more than an hour and endured tailbacks stretching for miles.
Yes, the Minister in charge says she acknowledges the inconvenience the works caused, but said there was no other option but for them to take place. Bumper to bumper, a slow crawl towards the city. Traffic in front and behind for as far as the eye could see. Major roadworks took place in Belfast over the weekend, meaning major delays on routes that should take a matter of minutes.
The department wanted to close the busiest road in Belfast where 80,000 cars travel on a daily basis over a weekend that was the first payday weekend of the summer break. We had road closures in place but traffic lights not synced to those, and we had road users on both Friday and Saturday stuck in our city centre. Ulterior routes into our city completely blocked at a time when businesses are really struggling. This was a payday weekend and people were keen to get in and support the local economy, and people were unable to get into our capital city.
The eastbound carriageway of the M3 between Nelson Street and D Street was closed on Friday until 6 a.m. this morning. That meant no access to the M3 bridge towards Bangor until just after the Titanic Quarter. It forced drivers from the north into fewer lanes on the M2 or to take a diversion onto roads like the A2 Shore Road. On Saturday, I picked a friend up from here in Jordanstown before heading in to the city centre. Now, that journey should take around 20 minutes. Instead, that journey to this car park just off Corporation Street took 1 hour and 30 minutes. The works are part of a £400,000 maintenance scheme from the Department for Infrastructure, but this isn't a new scenario. At Christmas, commuters also faced disruption due to roadworks.
Initially, when works were done last year, we had indicated at that point that further works would potentially be required this summer and again potentially in summer 2026. So at the most earliest stage, we have tried to ensure there has been advance warning on that. It's not to underestimate how frustrating that is for many road users and potentially the wider area. However, I think it's really important to stress that this is absolutely essential. It's major safety work that's required, and we cannot let it go on until maybe at the point where that weakens further, and it's important that we get that work done.
Works are set to recommence next weekend when the westbound carriageway will be closed from Bridge End to the M2 foreshore. Further maintenance is expected to take place next summer. Yeah, certainly a lot of disruption over the weekend.
Indeed, indeed. Well, it's time now to look at the headlines making tonight's ITV news at 6:30.
Here's Geraint Vincent.
Coming up on the evening news, Storm Floris brings winds of over 100 miles an hour to the UK with weather warnings in place until later tonight. Do not travel warnings are in place in parts of the country with trains cancelled and flights grounded. Also doubts about what people might be able to claim after the Supreme Court's ruling on car finance. And a dramatic end at the Oval. Chris Woakes stepped up to the crease with his arm in a sling and the series in the balance. But were England able to pull off a record-breaking run chase? Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, it's time now for the sport.
Yes, Will Esler has the latest.
The atmosphere is electric. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Good evening. Well, Tyrone are enjoying more All-Ireland glory after they defeated Laois in the ladies' intermediate football final at Croke Park yesterday. Daniel Duffy reports.
All-Ireland final day. Tyrone are used to them. This time, it was the ladies' turn. Taking on Laois, hoping to gain senior status for next year. In a tight first half, the Red Hands found themselves behind. But Aoife Horvath's goal ensured Tyrone would lead at the break. Late in the second half, there was a point between the sides. Step forward, Katie Rose Muldoon, sealing the win with this goal. An historic day for Tyrone ladies as they clinched their first intermediate All-Ireland title since 2018.
Yeah, it's surreal. Like it is what you dream about when you're a wee girl kicking a ball about. So, it's nearly like it's hard to believe that we did it yesterday. And like that's a couple of times that we've done it now from 2018 as well. And it's unbelievable. You just feel very, very lucky that you get to do this, and hopefully, we girls in Tyrone were watching yesterday and they dream of doing that as well.
The development that's going on in Tyrone ladies football at the minute is excellent. This year they won an under-14 platinum Ulster title, done well in the All-Ireland series. The under-16s and minors were in Ulster finals as well. Last year minor Ulster champions. So here there's talent coming through. And it was very important that we got over the line yesterday to get Tyrone into senior football, because ultimately they have got a history of being in senior football, but now we know the task ahead is going to be trying to stay there and compete and challenge these bigger teams.
I suppose everybody knows this
like county football is. It's, you know, a couple of nights a week. It's really, really busy. There's a lot of sacrifices going, like, but at the same time, you know, you're choosing to play for Tyrone. It's your choice. It's a privilege. And like going out yesterday and winning that, like, it makes every single bad day. It makes every single, you know, trip that you're sort of going, God, I couldn't be bothered. It's raining, you know, it's windy. Like, it makes it all worth it. Like, and it does pay off. And we're just so glad it paid off yesterday.
Meanwhile, in the junior final, it didn't go to plan for Antrim as they fell to a defeat against Louth. Daniel Duffy, UTV Live.
Now, Ireland's Bundy Aki has revealed his new baby was born in a car just hours before he played in the British and Irish Lions' first test against Australia. His wife, Kayla, gave birth on her way to hospital in their native New Zealand. Meanwhile, on the pitch, the Lions failed to complete a series whitewash after the Wallabies won the third test in Sydney on Saturday. The Lions had the chance to make history with the first series whitewash since they toured Argentina in 1927. But it wasn't to be for Andy Farrell's side. Australia dominated much of the match, played out in horrible conditions. The Wallabies led 8-0 at the break. The game was delayed at the start of the second half when James Ryan was knocked unconscious, and while he was being treated, a lightning storm forced play to be suspended for half an hour. When play resumed, Australian winger Max Jorgensen took advantage of Bundy Aki's mistake to score, and the writing was on the wall. It took over an hour for the Lions to get on the scoreboard through Jack Morgan, while Will Sturt added a late consolation try. Meanwhile, Dan Sheehan has been given a 4-game ban by World Rugby for a dangerous clear-out, meaning he'll miss Leinster's first 3 league games of the season. So defeat for the Lions in Sydney, but most importantly they're heading back with a series win and the silverware on the plane. Well, staying with rugby, and Ireland's women, they warmed up for the Rugby World Cup with victory over Scotland. Ireland fought back from 14-0 down in Cork to win by 27 points to 21 and will continue their preparations against Canada in Belfast on Saturday. Their opening tournament game will be against Japan on the 24th of August in Northampton. Well, Linfield could face a rematch with Shelbourne in the UEFA Conference League. The Dublin side knocked Linfield out of Champions League qualifying, but if the Blues beat Vikingur, they'll face the loser of the Europa League game between Shelbourne and Rijeka. If Larne beat Portugal's Santa Clara, they'll face Shamrock Rovers or Kosovan side Balkany. Finally, in golf, it was a disappointing Women's Open for Leona Maguire, who shot a 7-over par final round to finish on 11 over and in a tie for 63rd place. That's 22 shots behind the winner. That's all your sport this evening. Have a great weekend.
The atmosphere is electric. John Mulholland Motors, sponsors of UTV Sport.
Now it's time for you to help us. As ever, we need your assistance to find an amazing local fundraiser to represent UTV at the star-studded Daily Mirror Pride of Britain Awards in London.
So if you know someone who goes the extra mile for a special cause and who makes a real difference in their community, then we would like to hear from you. Paul Riley has the details.
Get ready for a very special night.
The Pride of Britain Awards is a national institution. Now in its 26th year, it's an annual event celebrating the bravery and brilliance of those who display true grit and determination. ITV regional news programmes have played a big part in Pride of Britain, helping to find those amazing fundraisers who make an incredible difference in their communities. And now we're looking for our next champions, people who go that extra mile to raise money for a special cause. You can nominate an individual or a group of people, and with a special insight into what we're looking for, here's one of the Pride of Britain judges, ITV's very own Ben Shepherd.
I think the things that are hugely important is finding someone who is absolutely invested in their community, that has gone above and beyond for the people around them, without doubt has put themselves in a position where they've created an extraordinary movement with the charity endeavour that they've done, and really just because they have a huge passion for the people around them, the community they live in, they have done everything they can to try and change the lives of those people that they live alongside.
So do you know someone who fits the bill and deserves recognition? All you have to do to nominate them is to go to itv.com/Pride of Britain. That's all one word. Nominations are now open and close at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday the 10th of August. A full list of terms and conditions can be found at itv.com.
Well, we heard all about Storm Flores earlier in the programme.
Let's see what conditions are going to be like over the next few days. Here's Louise with the forecast.
Bringing the warm sunshine outside, inside. UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
So it was a very windy day. Storm Flores brought quite a lot of disruption across Northern Ireland. Over the next couple of days, it will remain rather changeable. Blustery winds to start tomorrow, sharp showers at times, a few sunny spells into the afternoon, and that's really how the rest of the week looks, rather changeable. Taking a look at the pressure sequence, you can see Storm Flores moving off to the northeast. We had a cold front today pushing through, bringing a number of showers at times. But as we look towards Wednesday, you can see a high pressure area just slowly starting to edge in, so things will settle down for a time. This evening, though, a number of showers will continue to move through quite quickly on those winds, 1 or 2 sharp showers in places. Temperatures tonight holding up between 11 and 13 degrees Celsius. The winds will slowly start to ease down as we move into tomorrow morning, but they will still be gusting in around 30-35 miles per hour. So quite a blustery start, a number of showers filtering through, but brightening up into the afternoon tomorrow. Top temperature of around 19 or 20 degrees Celsius. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a fairly blustery start, 1 or 2 showers here and there, becoming drier into the afternoon with plenty of bright and sunny spells. Temperatures reaching highs of around 21 degrees Celsius. The winds will slowly start to ease down tomorrow afternoon. So taking a look ahead for the next couple of days, we have a cool and chilly night coming our way Tuesday into Wednesday. Wednesday looks like a dry and settled day with some bright and sunny spells, but we can expect it to become slightly breezier through Thursday. Not quite as windy as today though, slightly breezy. Temperatures in and around are ever so slightly above average for this time of year. That is the very latest. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.
UTV weather. Sponsored by the Grant Arona R290 heat pump.
Well, that's the latest UTV news, sport and weather this Monday, the 4th of August. Nathan Hanna will be back with the late bulletin at 10:30.
You can, of course, stay up to date online and on ITVX as well. The ITV News continues now with Geraint. But from me and Rose and the entire UTV team, have a great evening.
Good evening.